Colin.
Cool, cool.
Lights up on the stage is set. A-list moments you won't forget. Stories told from the hearts of gold, where dreams ignite and truths unfold. A-list guests on the mic tonight, bringing the world into the light. Big ideas and tales untold. Welcome to the A-list show.
Alrighty.
I
Thank
like
you
that
for
tune.
being here. What's that?
I said I like that tune. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh no, all good, all good. Yeah, it's have you ever heard of an app called Suno?
I have not.
No, it's like it's like a AI kind of like video or like music making like app. Like
Hmm,
essentially, you just like give it a prompt and it'll spit out like a full like song or theme song for you. So that's what I've been using for the different podcasts I've been doing.
I like that. I like it.
Yeah.
It's crazy how developed AI has gotten in the last year alone, really.
Oh yeah, because like this, like that one, and the one for the podcast I do with my best friend, like they were very accurate, and it just sounded like an original, super original kind of theme song and everything. So
Sure.
no, it's cool. If I if I have some time right after the podcast, I'll put in a prompt real quick for your business, and I'll see what it spits out. Maybe you can put it before all your real estate videos. No.
Yeah. I like that idea.
Well, welcome for being here. I am joined by Garrett Heskett with CG Media. Why don't you go ahead and just tell the audience what it is that you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are essentially a one-stop shop real estate media company. Kind of break that down in short. We offer photos, drone photos, video, floor plans, virtual tours, really anything that you need to market your listing as a realtor.
Awesome. Yes. Us realtors, we do like one-stop shops, whether no matter what it is. So if we can go to one person for just about everything, then that's definitely what we like. And then I've seen your work, of course. Used you in the past because you used to be in Michigan. Now you're back in Michigan. But before we get into that, tell us just like how'd you even get started with doing, real estate photography? I know, obviously we work
Yeah,
together, but like what even prompted that?
so, um, little caveat. So I'm still in Florida, but we expanded back to Michigan. Brought an employee on up there. But anyways, um, kind of what prompted it, as you know, I had my real estate sales team in Michigan, and we were using a photographer that we used for a few years. He was solid. There was another company or another team in our office that during COVID, every single listing that they had didn't matter the price, didn't matter the condition. They were doing photo, video, and drone on every listing. So I went to them, and no one was doing video at a high level like that at the time. So I went to them and I asked who they were using. They were gatekeeping them. I went to our guy that we were using. I said, "Hey, here's this sample product, and you do this, and what are you going to charge?" And he says, "I don't know. I'll let you know." And I get a couple shoots on the books. These were both $165,000 a piece. Put them on back to back, and I got a bill for $1,500. And I was like, this is pretty crazy. I'll pay you, but this is insane, and we're way in the red on marketing. Um, so I ended up to kind of shorten that up. I ended up doing the research to kind of do it myself on my own listings. So, and I had really zero clue what I was doing. I did my first paid shoot eventually when people in the office caught wind that I was doing that. That was mainly just for agents within the office, and still didn't really know what I was doing. I was kind of just winging it. I remember my first paid shoot I did. This agent hated them so much, she let me know that she hated them, and she never called me again. So it took me a little while to get past that, and eventually started doing them again. Like I worked for you, or I worked with you on yours, and worked with other agents in the office. Left Michigan in April of 23 to move to Florida, and I actually didn't want to do this anymore. I was a one-man band, and I didn't have a circle. I was on my own island, so I was just figuring it out on my own and through YouTube University. Came down here just to sell real estate with my wife, and things were not all sunshine and rainbows, and bills still need to be paid, and money was kind of inconsistent. So I did this to pay the bills, or started doing this again to pay the bills. I started figuring out what I was doing, and I didn't have any intention to stay long term with it. But I came to actually really not like the sales side anymore, and I really fell in love with this. And I decided in December of 23 to go on my own with this and dive in it head first and abandon the sales side and just go into this. And we have shot to date, we're roughly, I think we're just over 1,000 homes since December of 23.
Oh wow, geez.
So
What's like one of the biggest differences between? I mean, obviously, there's some bigger houses over there in Florida, but is there any difference between shooting homes here in Michigan and Florida?
um, to an extent,
More cool?
yes.
No.
Florida, well, where we are, particularly in Florida, and we're in like the North Forts, the Southwest Florida. It's a lot new, more newly developed this side of Florida. So you get, there might be a few outlier homes that are maybe 60s, 70s, but those are really, you don't see those too often at all. Most of the stuff that we shoot now is early 2000s at oldest. Majority, though, is 2010 plus. So the style of home, the condition of the home, um, those are really the bigger differences. And I'm seeing a lot of the differences now that I brought my employee on in Michigan, where even we talked about tree coverage, where you have hard shadows that show up on houses in your photos, like your exterior photos. So it's
Yeah.
working around stuff like that that isn't really a problem down here. I didn't really think about. Outside of that, it's nothing really too crazy. It's We're using the same processes on almost every home. You get maybe into the ultra luxury, the process changes a little bit more, but the average home we shoot about the same.
It's probably much easier with the for the videography aspect at least. Well, I guess for the photographs too, when it's a larger house with a bigger space, right? And it's probably a lot easier to do a video walkthrough, for example, or anything like that.
Absolutely. We kind of differentiate a lot from a lot of the run of the mill. I call them run of the mill, not in an insulting way, but we definitely offer a premium service. So there's a lot of times where I have a client that wants to book video on a house, and I go in and I'll tell them, hey, this isn't worth it. Save the money for the next house. With us, it is a little bit of a heavier investment when we're getting into the video side. So houses that are, maybe aren't as visually appealing, or they have a lot of decor or different, just a lot of furniture in general, those are harder to shoot for video. We can still work them just fine for photos, but
Yeah. Well,
it's
and
a it's a case by case.
right, or like you might have to have like a good idea, if it's a smaller
Yeah.
house, what I'm saying. Have you done any of those freeze frame videos yet, or no? You know what I'm
I'm not
talking about, where they're
that one. Like the yes, actually, we just filmed that today. I've got a so we do content days as well for some of our clients where
yeah.
we block out 3 to 4 hours and do video after video. And a lot of them, they either just trend on the general real estate topics, inspections, appraisals, things to look for, things to avoid, stuff like that. But we also keep note of trending videos that don't really have a topic. But so we actually did two variants of that one today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was fun. It's fun to shoot. That was my first time shooting like that trend.
Yeah.
But for me, it's easy. I just say it's a little bit easier to do. Um, but yeah, no, they're fun to do, and they gain a lot of traction.
What was like one of the hardest things, like for you getting started? Was it like learning the camera, or just like drumming up clients?
It was a mix of both. When when I started in Michigan, like I said, I had no intention to to really take this anywhere into something bigger. It was just for my own listings. But
You didn't have
when I was in
camera
Michigan,
experience before?
zero. I
Zero.
had zero. I had a few people that I started following on YouTube, um, and I just learned from them, trial and error. And but when I was in Michigan, I really I shouldn't say relied on relationships, but it came from relationships that I already built in my sales business. So then now moving to Florida, we didn't have any connections down here. We didn't have family, nothing, starting from ground zero. So it was a mix of learning the equipment and also the mix of building relationships. But
Well,
I
at least
relied
you
on,
at least had, quite a few samples from doing, so many shoots for everyone at the office and everything here in Michigan. I'm sure you had, quite a few samples to show everybody, though.
to an extent, when I was in Michigan, I really had no clue what I was doing. Um, like I said, it was a lot of trial and error. And now, fast forward, 2, 3 years, well, about 2 years later now, I can look at my most recent shoot and one of my first shoots when I was still in Michigan, and it's like I kick myself and think, what was I doing? These were terrible in comparison to the workflow and to the quality now. Um, so I did have samples. The difference now is I'm not a one-man band. I have an assistant, I have an editing team that works with me on all of our projects, whether it's photos or video. We have dedicated groups for each. So, and those guys, I'm the one who goes out and does all the actual shooting, but their profession is the editing side. Can I edit? Sure. Do I lose a lot of sleep and a lot of my patience? Absolutely. If I do that, but that's where they come into play to really help us. If I were, in Michigan, if I'm, speaking in the sense of still one man band, if I have a full day of shoots, my entire next day is all editing, or I can, starve myself with sleep and I'm up all night and I have a rough day the next day. But our editing teams
Yep.
now, we actually, well, we recently switched, but I should say, most of them they're on opposite time schedules for us. So when you or I are going to bed, they're starting their work day. So then, in that sense, we can still get all of our deliveries out in the next morning without skipping a beat, and I
Yeah.
get those out before we even start our shoots for the day.
Yep.
More recent,
What's that?
I was going to say more recently. Actually, within the last 2 weeks, we switched to same day delivery.
Oh wow, yeah, and it's quick turnaround because like those of you who don't know, editing does take a lot of time. That was actually one of my questions, and I think I just got my. I was going to ask you like if you could snap your fingers and like one aspect of the business like be done. Um, would that be your answer? The editing.
Absolutely, absolutely. The editing is definitely the biggest one, and I like doing it, but when we're running on a pretty large scale, we do roughly 20 to 25 shoots a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. So when you're running that scale Monday through Friday, it does get a little tasking to try to do it all on your own. And I don't, I honestly don't remember who I took it from, but I had someone when I was still selling real estate that said, you can't build an empire on your own. You
Oh
need the
yeah.
good help to help and build it up, and that's kind of been my dream more recently, to just build this beyond me. Where I want to build a brand and not have it be just Garrett, the photographer or the videographer.
Yep. Do you and like? I know you mentioned, obviously you started in Michigan. You're now in Florida. Then you've expanded back to Michigan, right? Do you have plans to like take it further than that, like do other states, or is it just kind of the obvious where there's that referral between Michigan and Florida when it comes to the real estate industry?
Yeah. So as of right now, I'm gonna say it's most likely gonna be limited to Florida and Michigan. Um, who knows what the future is going to bring? Michigan, it was for a couple of reasons. Number one, I had relationships, and I still have quite a few people that follow me from Michigan that want me to come back up there and shoot their listings. And as much as I love to, it doesn't make financial sense for me to fly back and forth every week.
Right.
Um, so I've made a few trips since I moved, and I'll always take my gear with me, and I end up doing a few shoots while I'm up there. And this one, honestly, it was just a random opportunity that fell in my lap. A mutual friend of ours, Lauren Rulli, had referred me to someone who was looking to get into the business, and I approached it in the sense of, well, I get a long text, first thing in the morning this day of, hey, I want to get in this. Can you talk to me about it? So I figured I was going to approach in the sense of bringing on a coaching client or offer a job. And
Yeah.
this one, it really just happened to work perfect, both on the pay needs and the availability. So we brought him on as an employee, got him out of his job. So it is a little bit right now. It's a little bit more risky for me, while we're building up that clientele. But so far, it's starting to head in the right direction. Slower at the moment, but this is fresh as of last week. So very
Yeah,
fresh.
things take time to build momentum, and of course things get the snowball effect.
Sure.
Especially I'm sure it sounds like you've been kind of working with the guy to make sure he has everything dialed in, like when he's out on shoots for you guys and everything. So hey, um, you learned as well as I did, inspect what you expect. So it
Yeah.
sounds like you've put those things in place. So
And I was going to say too, to kind of better answer your question, Michigan more specifically because I have those existing relationships there, whereas going into another random state where I have no connections, it's starting from ground zero. Just like in the sales side as a realtor, this side it's still fairly competitive. I'm going to say less people doing it, but it's still competitive. And it's a world of there's a lot of chasing to the bottom of the barrel. So client retention is a little bit difficult depending on the client and their needs. Um, where I do have friends that are operating in their home state and have an expansion in another state, that other state they're not really doing that well, and just because they had nothing going into it. Versus me, I had about 6 years of relationships with agents in the office, and right now those are my low hanging fruit that I'm trying to go after, and then spread out from there.
right, and hey, you're doing the right thing. You sent him to our networking mixer, right? No,
Yeah,
I
I
am.
and I, I heard it was a good turnout.
Yeah, I just I felt like I met mostly everybody, and I know that I did not get the chance to uh have a drink with him or shake his hand. I'm 99% sure I didn't get the chance to meet him. So
I
next
know you definitely saw him because he's about 6'4". He's a big guy. You cannot miss him. But next time
okay,
he'll definitely be at the next one.
okay, yeah, as I
And
say,
he's a good guy.
there was only a couple tall guys there, so I think I definitely must have seen him. Um, yeah, next time. Do you have like a dream like project or shoot like you know what I'm saying, like is there like a piece of real estate like you want to do like Eminem's house or something?
I've had a few that got close to the dream. There is one particular company that I follow that only does ultra luxury, and these are minimum $20 million homes. Obviously, like we can make a bad home look nice, but those nice homes at ultra luxury, it's on another level. Um, and I got the opportunity about a month and a half, I'd say about a month and a half ago. I got an opportunity to shoot a $15 million home in Naples.
Oh,
This wasn't really it wasn't a hired job. It was a portfolio piece that we bartered on to get the training in something that nice, and also give that agent free marketing in return. So,
yeah,
and this was when you're getting into those price points, those homes they sit for quite a while. It takes a very particular buyer. Um, so that home had been sitting on the market for the better part of 6 months, and they said, "Hey, we saw you just did this price reduction on it. This home checked all of our needs, so we like to use this for training, and in return, we'll give you a pretty killer marketing video."
oh, that's cool.
And they didn't
Yeah.
question at all. They said, "Yeah, okay, why not?" You know, it makes them look good too. It makes them look good to their seller.
Oh, right, and it's funny you say that because like I've even done that like on my end with like for sale by owners. Like, hey, I'll do an open house, or hey, can I do a quick like marketing video? Helps you, helps me, right? If it's a win-win
Absolutely.
situation, then yeah, definitely. No, that's cool though that you already kind of got to um do your do a kind of dream shoot.
A lot of them are a little bit rougher, but on average, we get some fairly nice homes. Nothing in that crazy of a price point, or very little in that price point, should say. But
Yeah.
most of them, they tend to be pretty nice.
What's something that you wish like agents understood about what you have to do? Is it, the time aspect, or like what's something
Um,
like a
the
misconception?
complexity. I'd say just the overall complexity of it, um, is the big one. It's hard, and I'm actually going through this right now on my website presentation. Um, so right now, um, that's our biggest differentiator, right? Is it's gonna be the videos. Photos, there are plenty of competitors that put out, roughly the same quality of work, more or less. But the
Yeah,
videos, there's
some
really
definitely
not
better than
many.
others.
Sure, and there's really not that many in my market down here that offer video at our level, and I don't know of anyone personally in your market that offers it right now. Um,
No.
so with that said, when our clients go, the clients that have worked with us, they know the quality, they know what they're paying for. But for someone who comes from Google or comes from a Facebook post they saw in a group or anywhere where we haven't had any interaction, and they go to our booking platform and they see this is a $600 invoice for this whole photos, drone, and video. That's pretty crazy. When the guy down the street is charging only 300. The difference is I don't want to say it as the equipment used as if the equipment means something, but it's what that equipment can do if you know how to use it. You and I just had the conversation last week,
Right.
so it is quite a complex process to actually get one of our polished videos out. When we're shooting video, we're anywhere from an hour to 3 hours in a home just on the video alone, depending on the size. Smaller home, we get through faster. Me myself have been doing this for quite a while. I like to say I run pretty efficient with it. So that's me kind of running at my pace. When I first started doing this, though, I was at least double times. Going from a 1,000 square foot house, I'd be there for 2.5 hours. Now I can get out in about an hour.
And is that just because like you just couldn't get the lighting right, or it was just that you were taking like way too many like shots that you just didn't like, like a one or three was enough. What was
Um, so I guess both identifying my shots, identifying the shots I wanted and how to get it. It's like I told you from the beginning, I really didn't know what I was doing. So when I first started running down here, I was offering video, and these were iPhone videos. And iPhones they can do okay, but they're not the greatest, they're not the worst. They just are. Um, and then I started playing with my actual professional cameras for video. I had no clue what I was doing. So I met someone who got me in touch with another individual who does very good video. And I noticed that individual who got us in touch, his videos got a lot better after he spent some time with this guy on actual jobs. So I reached out to the guy who was putting out the good work, and I said, "Hey, can I hire you for me to shadow you? I want to learn how to do this." And I wanted to feel confident. That was my biggest thing, is not feeling confident going into these and knowing what was going to come out on at the finish line when this is all done. And that really like opened up a can of worms for me, in a good way though. Um,
Yeah.
and this guy, his background was in film production, and then he eventually got into the real estate side, and he runs a fairly large volume business. So I remember we trained for the first day, and I had no clue what I was doing. He was, "Hey, set your camera to this and do as I do." And we go and sit down and we get dinner afterwards, and he pulls up a floor plan, just a two-dimensional overhead floor plan, and he's color coding the entire thing of these are where your wide shots are going to be for all the runs, like the speed ramps in your videos. You're familiar with that.
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
and he's like, you want to hit here, you want to hit here, and he's this floor plan now looks like a rainbow of I just don't really understand what's going on. It took me a while to really figure that out, and now I understand in my head, and I'm working on training my guy to understand that. So it's both that it's nailing your focus and your detail shots. We do a mix of both wide and detail to kind of break up the flow of the video. That way,
Yeah.
someone actually watches it. It's the actual camera movements, how you want that finished product to look. So a lot of times when you're filming these, you're thinking of, okay, what is the flow and the sequence of this video going to be? What's worth showing? What's not worth showing? And things like that. So it is, in short, the complexity. Um, Most of my clients, I don't think I've ever really explained that to a client, what all goes into it. They just see the finished product and they're like, wow, this is great. But
Yeah.
it's
Right.
getting them to that point especially the newer ones that haven't worked with us before. It's getting them over that hurdle.
Or
The
even from
bigger,
new agents that are like, "Hey, can you get these to me in like 2 hours?" And you're like, "What?"
yeah. Well, so now, I mean, I don't advertise 2 hours necessarily, but we do advertise
No,
same
but
day. So the photos, yes, absolutely. The video we push out in about 48 hours. So if it's something a little bit more complex, then we might be a little bit longer, but otherwise, most of our stuff is 48 hours on the videos. And
it
while
takes
we're sitting,
time.
it takes time. And while we're sitting and talking about videos, um, as you know, there's plenty of lead sources for you to buy into, whether it be Zillow or Realtor.com leads or this lead company is pay a closing company, whatever it is. I really try to push our videos as the same idea as an open house, where you and I, we've done plenty of open houses. I'm sure you've done plenty. Um,
Oh yes.
when you're going in and hosting an open house, chances are your buyer's not coming from that open house, right? But how many conversations did you have with people who came in who would have been the looky-loo neighbor who's tossed around the idea of selling, or that couple that just saw the sign, they came to the house, they hated it, but they liked you and they want to work with you, or someone who, I did have this when I was selling, but they're like, "Hey, I got a house I need to sell, and I saw your sign. Can you come sell my house?" So the videos are the same way, where some buyers do come from that, but generally speaking, most of those, especially the ones that do take off, that actually gain traction, all those conversations with people seeing your work, or well, they're going to say your work as the realtor, you're representing that home. Suddenly that turns into more indirect leads for you.
Oh yeah, because
I
when they're ready, they're gonna go, "I want a cool video from my house."
Exactly.
Right?
And and that's like the residential real estate side. There's so much sentimental value and emotions that run through both buyers and sellers that it's they want someone that's going to give them quality marketing. And it's great when you can go in and into a listing appointment and say, "Hey, well, I worked with this really hard situation. I sold 200 homes. I'm the top producer in my office." Those are all great things, but if you can't physically show them something that proves that, that's hard. That's a much harder hurdle to get over. So to double
Oh,
down
yeah.
on that, this is also they're pieces for your listing presentation too.
1,000%. And yeah, it's funny because somebody could sell 20, 50 more houses than me, I'm saying, like, in a year. But
Mhm.
um were they marketed properly? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, did those sellers get did they get the maximum value for their house when someone just went in there with an iPhone? Because I can tell you
Right.
now, I'm no professional photographer, but there's a clear difference um, in the in the quality of photos that can be taken with a phone, and especially because a lot of the people that are choosing to use like their phone, they're not they're not trained to use their phone as a professional. Like, yeah, you can
Sure.
get those things that you can place over the iPhone lenses, and if you have the iPhone 17 Pro Max, maybe you can get like a decent shot. But like most of the time, it's like these horrible lighting angles and just odd. Like, I don't need a 45-degree angle of your countertop. I would need to see the kitchen and how it flows. You can really tell a story with real estate photos and in the video
Absolutely.
especially.
Well, and we live in what I like to call both a scroll society and shiny object syndrome society, where I'm sure you probably got Instagram Reels or TikTok just like I do, and you get into that doom scroll, and you got 3 seconds to get your story across and get someone engaged. Otherwise, they're gone. And to double down on that statement, I'm obviously biased on this because this is what I do. But in my days of selling real estate, I did the same exact thing. Not at the same high quality level, but I built my real estate business just solely off of Facebook alone. I didn't cold call, I didn't buy leads. I did like 3 paid ads in 6 years that didn't work for me. But all of it was
Yep.
organic posting. And those same for me, like I'm a car guy, right? So that's how I built. That's how I built my business. I would just go and I'd post listings that had outbuildings, or they had the extra garage, or they had a car lift in the garage. And I market those. Those are the people I'm friends with on Facebook. Those are the people that I'm friends with in real life.
Right.
That's how I gained a lot of business. I do the same thing with this. Only now the difference is I have more media to actually show. You know. So um, that's I don't know where we kind of left off there.
Oh no, hey, I'll go. Um, I guess I only have one or two more kind of official questions for you.
Yeah.
If you had now that you've done the learning, you've gained the experience and everything, and you guys have established yourselves down there in Florida, and obviously now expanding into Michigan. If you had to give either, like, I suppose, someone that's getting started in the business a piece of advice, or if you had to, like, give a piece of advice to your old self, even, what would it be, like, getting started, and like, hey, just don't even do this, just don't even waste your time with that, or what would it be?
Yeah, no, a piece of advice to someone wanting to get into this, I would tell them to keep reinvesting in both the equipment needed and both in the equipment needed in their education. The thing that was really hard for me on this was, like I said, I was on my own island, where, I was still selling real estate. I had the office culture. I had people to bounce off of, and doing this, it took me a long time to find that. And for me, I found a couple of real estate photography and videography groups that I got into, and I met a small number of people that I really rely on. Um, that I talk to them daily now on things that I'm struggling with, things that I can do to get better. So that'd be, just be a sponge and soak in all the information you can, and reinvest in the equipment, because there's plenty of people that'll say, "Hey, you can get by with the cheapest of the cheap," which is true. But me personally, I want to build something that outruns everyone else or every other company, and something that's going to last. For me, like, I was walking through, I was walking to the Walmart parking lot yesterday. I got out of the car and I felt like really lightheaded for a second, and it got me thinking of, like, what if I just, passed out and hit my head right now and I couldn't work anymore. And I've really been like racking this through my brain the last few weeks, but right now my marketing has been me, me, me. How do I get it past me? Especially bringing on another employee that's 1,900 miles away from me. That side is kind of really getting me to teach myself on getting out of my own way and letting this grow past me. So that'd be the other piece of advice too. Building your actual brand, and not just being the photographer. You know,
Right. Oh yeah, yeah,
and then
definitely.
as I say, the piece to myself would be, um, stop being so hard on myself. I get hard on myself a lot, and I feel like I'm not doing enough. Um,
Yeah.
But, just like anything else, regardless of what business you're in, regardless of what you're doing, the skills, they take time, the relationships, they take time to build. Um, so just, don't give up on it, keep pushing, do the hard things, and it pays off.
And I suppose, obviously similar to real estate, right? Like, your clients aren't going to be none the wiser if, like, it maybe it took a little extra or, like, the ISO was off by, which, realtors wouldn't even. I just happen to know that because obviously we're on a podcast together, and I also, much like when you got started, I have a camera that I have no business owning, so I have had to do that learning curve as well. So yeah.
It's, and it's a rabbit hole that I had no intention of going down into, and now I've invested enough to where I could have a nice down payment on a house, or I could have a really fancy car.
If you
Um,
just sold your stuff, is that what you're saying?
yeah, well, the money that I've spent, and
Yeah.
now I'm not going
Yeah.
to get all that money back out of it. We're kind of past that
No,
now,
it's
but
huge, but
it's I think it's important to invest, in yourself and your career. Because I mean, those all those pieces of equipment, are they expensive? Sure, absolutely. But they further your business. That's like when I first got into this. I kind of knew going in, I wanted to be the one stop shop. because I don't want to be just the photo guy. And now that realtor, they have to find the video guy because that, Garrett doesn't
He's going
offer
to be both,
videos.
and he's
So
going to
now
do
they have to
both.
find someone else. And chances are that other guy, he does both. And I'm cut out of the picture
Right.
completely. That's
Oh,
where I've had people who only offer drone services. And I'm like, just go get a camera and learn how to do it all. Why
right.
not?
You
So
you mentioned investing obviously in the equipment and everything. Has there been something that you've bought that has been a waste, or you kind of like look at it like, oh, I thought I was going to use that a lot more than I actually do, or hey, I could have bought that like way later. Is there anything like that?
a yes and a no. Um, I wouldn't say anything was a waste, but I've cycled through a few different lenses, a few different camera bodies. Not because there's anything necessarily wrong with them, but I didn't do my full research, or I found that there was something. I actually got one lens that I can think of that's sitting in my bag that I hardly even touch.
Yeah.
Um, it's
Is it
a
like for a very specific situation, or?
So it's for vertical wide shots.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Where I will use it if there's no agent on camera, but when that agent is on camera in front of that lens, um, it makes them look like a giraffe. Their legs are so long that it kind of skews them. So
Hey, that
it's
helped
it's
me make me look taller. Use it on me.
yeah. So honestly, yes, that is the thing with shorter people. It does make them look a little bit taller, but you get
Let's
someone
go.
taller on camera, or someone. I had a client that I wear a size 13, he wears a size 13, and he had dress shoes on. So if you ever look at your dress shoes and compare to your sneakers, they got a little extra, maybe an inch or inch and a half.
Yep.
It made him look like he was wearing clown shoes.
Clown
um,
shoes.
where we try to, like, when they're on camera like that, we don't try to cut off any of their body, just
Yep.
because it looks like a prettier shot. But that lens, it really doesn't get much use. I have another one that works for those shots. Um, Otherwise, I mean, probably really nothing that really comes to mind was a waste outside of that. The fancy bags, investing in a good bag is nice because when you have thousands of dollars in equipment in a bag, it's important. But buying fancy name brands or because it looks a certain way. Um, I have one bag that I bought that I probably didn't need to spend a bunch of money on, but I did. I still use it. Um, but I could have got away with way cheaper and been just fine.
Can
And
I
I
tell you
like
this? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying now, like with my photographer in Michigan, I outfitted him on his whole setup. So I was going through all that and kind of building out what does it cost to outfit one person if I do end up, if this grows larger and I bring on another photographer up there, or I bring someone in down here to eventually take my place. And I figured out a number that's pretty close per person. But the difference now was, like, back then I didn't know everything that I needed. I kind of guessed a lot, and like I said, I cycled
Right.
through a few different setups. Now it was okay. This is what I want him on,
Oh, yeah.
and I just went
Yeah.
and bought the whole setup, and he's good to go.
Yeah. And as long as you can, replicate that time after again, um, yeah, I'm sure you'll be fine. Is there
Um,
is there any question that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
there was one thing I want to circle back to. So when we
Yeah.
were talking about video, and I always I try to come from contribution with everything that I do. So I don't try to go and dog people for saying, hey, you need to only use professional videos. You can't do it yourself on your own. It looks bad. That's not at all what what I say at all. I think in reality, I tell this to a lot of my clients, where if they want to hire me to do all of their marketing, including their talking head videos, or just talking like this, or talking on their own, do that, and do that on your own. Save yourself some money. It's always good to have both. I would say, like, for your, like, flagship listing video, should you probably hire it out? Yes. But if you have, let's say you have a listing that's been sitting for 30, 60, 90 days, and I'm the social media guy. So it's like, I don't like the idea of posting the same thing over and over. For sale, 123 Main Street,
Yeah.
then post it a week later, for sale. You want to have versatility in your content, even though it's the same listing. So instead of posting that same video over and over, go back to the house and just do a selfie tour of, hey guys, I'm at my listing at 123 Main Street. Let's walk through it, check it out. maybe go live with that video instead of just something pre-recorded. Do a talking head video talking about whatever hardships you had, uh, this particular deal that was going on or things that you're seeing in the market. And that's and now I'm kind of calling myself out because I got away from doing that. I still do it in this business. But there's so much that you can do with it. And again, for me, like I'm really big on those two because I built two businesses solely through Facebook alone. Facebook, which eventually turns into referrals, but that's where it started at.
No, and I think that's a good example of kind of making 1 + 1 not equal 2, but equal 3, right? And if you already have the listing, right, and you need some content, switch it up, go back to the house and do it again. If you already got the professional video, go do a little quick reel by yourself.
Exactly.
And I also think that's great advice to be doing your own. Cause yeah, you don't like not every single thing has to be a full production. You know what I'm saying? Do I think that definitely listings need professional photos? Obviously, but
Sure.
that's part of the reason that even for myself, besides the other podcasts, that I got a camera for myself because um like if I'm going to pay like 100 or 150 for a photographer or videographer to do a quick minute and a half video, that starts to add up. If I'm doing a lot of videos. So
Sure.
quickly it was like, hey, it makes sense for me to get my own thing. Of course, I still let the professionals do my listings, right? I'm not experimenting on clients in that aspect, but it lets me do my other stuff um, outside of that.
Exactly. And I had someone tell me a couple of years ago, um, in videos, especially when you're getting on camera, it's essentially creating a clone of yourself. It's something that will always be out there. So like a good example is I have this TikTok from back when I was selling real estate down here in Florida. Actually, I made a tutorial video of how to take your gimbal, or how to take your phone and put on a mobile gimbal
Oh,
and
your phone.
run through a house, do a one take video.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that TikTok, I haven't gone viral on TikTok yet, but in terms of what I have out there, that is my best performing video. And I still get like I looked last night, I was still getting likes on it last night. And this is from 2 years ago, over 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
So
You never know what's going to go viral
it, yeah. So well the
or
point
what's
is
going to
like
work even.
it's still working for you even long after the fact. I still have people that comment on that video, hey, can you show me how you did this part or this part? And that's from 2 years ago versus like we talked about Zillow leads. And I remember when I first found out what a fraud that was. My first listing I took, I go and I look on Zillow and Realtor and Trulia, all of them, and I hit call agent, and that call did not go to me, but it went to whoever bought the lead. So the difference, like there, like you don't have a connection built. That client, that buyer that's inquiring doesn't have any connection built with who they're talking to. That person just bought the lead. And who knows if you're going to connect with that person during the transaction or after the fact. But I can tell you that I have people personally that I follow that I've never met, but I look at them, I see their stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Dave. And I love Dave's work. I love what he's doing with his business, blah blah blah. Eventually, at some point, I'm going to reach out to Dave when I need help. And like in particular, like I got one girl in Tennessee that I met one time at family reunion like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
Brief conversation with her, and now since then I've followed her on Instagram and not like intently, but I see she posts very consistently, and I see her stuff all the time. And I had a friend that was looking for an investment property in Tennessee. Like, I need to give it this girl. I never met her, but I feel like, I hear her name and I'm like, oh yeah, I totally know Abby. She's great. Even though I never, had a brief conversation and that was it.
Yeah, and it's a consistency, and you kind of said something that like I always tell people, just because someone doesn't use you now, or just because they even don't say anything now, doesn't mean they won't use you in the future. Like even for
Exactly.
example, like this podcast, what we're doing right now, um, like I'll just see somebody and they'll be like, "Oh, I see you're doing the podcast. I love it." And I'm like,
Right.
why aren't you where's the subscribe? Why aren't you liking? Where's the comments? No, but they're watching, but they'll engage when they're ready, right?
Exactly. And even like just because you're not getting the engagement today doesn't mean it's not going to come. It's like you said, like I did a post earlier this week or last week. It kind of all the last month has kind of been mumble jumble, but I did a post announcing a few different things that we were doing, the 24-hour delivery. And for the month of October, we're doing 10% off on all invoices. And then for every referral we get from you, you get 20% off your next shoot, and you can stack those up. So that post, like, it really didn't take off the way I thought it would. But I left it up, whatever. I've gotten a bunch of texts and calls though about that after the fact. People that didn't, at least I didn't see interact with it, that still saw it, still remembered, still thought to bring it up to me. Like, I had someone book yesterday, like, "Hey, I totally forgot to put that code in when I booked my shoe, but I saw your post. Can you put that in for me?" I say, "Yeah, of course."
Yeah.
So it's things like that. It's just being consistent, keep showing up, in anything you do, not just the media, not just the real estate, but anything you do.
Yes. Be consistent, because how you show up, what's the saying? How you show up somewhere is how you show up anywhere. Something
Exactly.
like something like that.
And I totally like left out kind of where I was going with the familiarity. But when I encourage you on your next listing, if you do a video on it or when you do one, get on camera for it. Those videos with the agent on camera, they always perform better, but you're building a sense of I'm going to say the word wrong, but I always say it wrong, but familiarity.
Oh, 1,000%.
Where someone, like, if I didn't know you at all, but I see your video and then I see your video on the next listing, on the next listing, on the next listing, I keep seeing you over and over, even though I never met you. Naturally, there is a statistic on this. I don't remember what it is. You can look it up though. I want to say it's like 7 or 8 times of seeing someone's face and hearing them. There's that sense that you're close with them, that you know them, you have a relationship with them, versus
Right.
just getting on the phone and saying, "Hey, this is Garrett from CG Media. Can I come shoot your listing?"
Oh
You know,
yeah, and
I just sound like another.
say, well, it isn't about me, it's just about the house. But at the same, you are a brand, and if you don't realize that you're in sales now. Yeah, I always tell people, I just happen to sell houses and I specialize in customer service, right? But you're building a brand, right? So don't feel bad about putting your face in the intro of the video, or wherever you choose to insert yourself. Yeah, get on
Exactly.
and get over it.
And I mean, at the end of the day, it's a cost of business, and it is about that listing, but you're killing two birds with one stone there, because you're pleasing your seller that you have in the moment, but you want to think of, and I learned this the hard way when I was selling real estate, but you want to think of what happens after that house, after that listing or deal closes. What's going to happen after? Do you have another one lined
Right,
up? Do you have more in the
right.
pipeline? Because I remember when I got my first paycheck selling, and I thought I was the coolest thing on earth, and that was the most money that I'd seen in my lifetime, and it quickly went away, but I didn't have anything lined up after, you know. So it's
It sure did.
those videos, the photos. It's building off of you're building off of that into the next deal if you use it the right way.
Definitely, 1,000%. I agree with you, buddy. Anything else, that I haven't asked you, or you want to make sure that you mentioned before we hop off here? And again, thank
Um,
you for doing this. I always appreciate it. And hopefully next time you come to Michigan, I get to catch
Nothing else I think that you didn't ask me about. But funny you mentioned that, because I will be in Michigan. Monday, was it Columbus Day, the week of Columbus Day. I'll be in Michigan.
you. The week of
So,
Columbus.
and
I do not have a calendar in front of me, nor in my phone.
it
Turn it off.
is, I believe it's the 13th. I believe it's the 13th. I'm not going to spend much time on my phone here, but it is the 13th. So a little less than 2 weeks.
Okay.
Um, with that said, I know the one thing I didn't mention, with our Michigan expansion at the moment, we are not yet offering video. It will I'm planning on that coming out in the next 4 or 5 months. But with that said, I'll be myself. I'll be in Michigan a little bit more often than I normally am. When I am up there, we will be offering exclusive video orders.
So you heard it here first.
And
It's a video when they're in town.
yeah,
How does
and
everybody kind of like get a hold of you, get in contact with you?
yeah.
For
So
number, website.
absolutely. So the easiest way is cgmediaagency.com. When going through our website, we have a booking portal that lays out every package that we offer, prices for everything, and the availability that we have. I try to push everyone there just so there's no lack of communication. There's no, well, you said you could be available this time and now you're not. I've had multiple days where I get multiple calls and I quote out the same time, and those, usually goes, okay, well, I'll talk to the seller and I'll let you know, and then I'll call back for like 2-3 days. And by the time they get back to me, that slot's booked up. And it's 7-8 people that we're quoting that time to versus our online. It's all live data availability. So if it's open in that moment, it's open.
Awesome. So I will make sure to go ahead and put that link in the description. I'll flash across the screen once
Appreciate
I am
ya.
done editing, because I do not have a editing team. So lucky you, Garrett. Again, thank you for doing this. And we'll catch you guys in the next video.
All right, Dave. Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Anytime, I've done this like multiple times, with one company so far. So if you ever like have anything new to announce or anything, then we can definitely have you back.
I'd say we should table this back when we start offering video full time in Michigan and show what we can do.
Yeah.
Show we can bring to the market. Because like I said, I mean, I've had jobs that I've had to, the last thing I'll say, I've had jobs I had to sub out up there that I cannot find a quality person, but now that's changed.
Now that has changed. Thanks again for doing this, buddy. I appreciate it.